Hi everyone, and welcome to my local history presentation. For those of you who do not know, Canvey Island is in Essex, England and located in the Thames estuary. Now, did you know that during the Great War, Canvey, it was reported, was the first in Essex to have a war memorial erected to honour its fallen? Now, this short presentation will take a look at the history of this memorial and how it came about. Now please subscribe to my channel and comment below telling me what you think and what part of Canvey's history you are interested in. So this is Canvey's Memorial to the Fallen, which is available to see at St Nicholas Church on Canvey Island. As I was looking at the memorial plaque itself, I started to wonder about the order of the men that were remembered on it. Now, war memorials managed by the British Legion tend to be in order of service. So that's the Navy, followed by Army, followed by Air Force. This plaque does not follow that order and is not alphabetical either. After some investigation, I came to the conclusion that they were placed on the memorial in the order that Canvey had heard about their deaths and probably maintained as and when they died. Britain declared war on Germany and its allies on the 4th of August 1914 after Germany had violated Belgium's neutrality. It didn't take long for the small community of Canvey to feel the effects of war when 3 of its men perished on the 22nd of September 1914 in one of the largest naval disasters in world history. A single submarine was able to sink 3 Royal Naval cruisers, the Hogue, the Abercur and the Cressy. Of the combined crew of 2,296, there are only 837 survivors. A memorial service was held on Canvey in October 1914, and at this service the vicar announced that the collection at the service would be devoted to erecting a tablet in the church to the memory of the 3 men, which might also include the names of any further additions to the Roll of Glory. So this was Canvey's vicar. He was the Reverend Joseph Romanus Brown, who joined Canvey in 1909 and replaced the Reverend Hagger, who went to Woolwich. Now, the Reverend Brown came from Foulness Island and had been there since 1901. In 1910, the vicar celebrated his silver wedding anniversary on Canvey. The vicar himself was of German descent. This map shows the church along Canvey Road. Opposite the church was the village school, which was also run and funded by the church. Notice how the graveyard only consists of the land in front of the church. People who are familiar with Canvey will realise how much the churchyard had actually expanded. This Google Map satellite image shows how the churchyard has expanded over the years. In fact, the churchyard is no longer capable of taking any more burials. The first expansion of the graveyard was in 1917, when the graveyard was extended by 3/4 of an acre at the cost of £170. St Catherine's Church was rebuilt in 1875 due to the previous church being too small for the growing population. The footpath to the right of the church went all the way up to Kipcap's farm. You can see that on the picture below. Now Kibcap's farm is in the modern day position of Northwick Park School. This picture shows the road into the village with the school on the right of the picture, which was opposite the church. The poles along the side of the road actually held the telegraph wire that came to Canvey in 1907 to 1908. The new war memorial was unveiled at the end of March 1915, and many people came along to show their respects. By the time the tablet was unveiled, there were 4 names on the tablet itself. This is the Canvey Memorial as reported in the Southend and Westcliff graphic. Notice that they called the war the European War. The newspaper also reported that this is the first memorial of this kind to be placed in an Essex church. Now, if we look at the people who are on the plaque, we can see how it was constructed. William Easterbrook was 31, Arthur Samuel Jennings was 27, and Adolphus Samuel Smith was 27 as well. These 3 people, as discussed earlier, were killed on the same day, and they were placed on the plaque in alphabetical order. Fred Hitchcock was the next to die. He was 33 and died of wounds in Plug Street Woods. The 5th person to die was Edward Fisk, and he was 23. He died at the Second Battle of Ypres. His father was the lighthouse keeper on Chapman Sands Lighthouse. Having completed 5 names to the left of the plaque, they then decided to move to the right-hand side of the plaque, with Frank Alexander Watson, who was 22 and died on the first day of the Somme at a place called Gomcourt. The next person to die from Canvey was Charles Edward Mills, who was 40, and he died at the Battle of Wood Lane, which was part of the Somme offensive. Now he is actually misplaced on the plaque because they didn't realise that he had died until some time later. This is probably because he was actually missing and they hoped he was in a prisoner of war camp. The next person to die was Reginald McLean Scott, who was 19, and he died at the Battle of Flers-Courcelette. Notice that this is also out of step slightly as well. There is a gap between Frank Alexander Watson and Reginald McLean Scott himself. William Baxter Lasham, who was 40, actually died the day after Reginald McLean Scott. I suspect that Canvey heard about the 2 at the same time, and the person creating the plaque decided to put them into alphabetical order. Henry Edwin Loisel, who was 21, was the next to die. Now he was quite unfortunate in being wounded at Lewes in 1915, returning to Blighty to recover, then going back out and dying at the Battle of Ancre Heights. The next to die was Stuart Gordon Meggs, who was 21. He died of pneumonia in a New Zealand stationary hospital. Right, so the plaque has 5 names on each side of the plaque, and what they decided to do now is to alternate the names between left and right hand side of the plaque to, I guess, so that there was some kind of symmetry. Sidney Brignall was 29. He died at Arras. Then over to the other side to Arthur Henry Lucy. He was just 18. He's the youngest person to die on Canvey's plaque. The next to die was Fred Potter, who was 21, and he was on a Q ship Salvia. Well, notice there was actually a spelling mistake on the plaque itself. It says Sylvia, but it was actually Salvia. Then we had Alfred Deadman, who was 24. He died at the attack of the Hindenburg Line. So this was the point that Canvey must have realised that Charles Mills had sadly passed away, and was hence added onto the plaque, followed by Melis Joseph William Gibbons, who was 31, who died at the Battle of St Quentin, or the Ludendorff Offensive. Now I've also included at the top right of this slide William Valence. He died at the same offensive, the Ludendorff Offensive, and the reason why he's not on the plaque is because the armed forces didn't realise what happened to him. Because the Germans were advancing, they didn't know if he'd been captured and was prisoner of war. As it happens, he was actually buried by the Germans and a cross placed on his grave. We next have Robert John Henry Monteith, who was 26. He died near Nerlu when the Germans had run out of steam and the British decided to push back against the Germans. He was a lay reader on Canvey. We now have another one which is slightly out of order. This was John George Woods, who was 23. He died of the pandemic, Spanish flu. He was also the eldest son of the Canvey baker. And finally we have Ernest John Bartram, who was 24. He also died of Spanish flu. And this is how the memorial looks today, and is displayed for all to see at St Nicholas Church, Long Road, Canvey Island. So I will leave you with the words that the Reverend Brown spoke at the unveiling of the memorial. Long as this marble bears witness to their noble sacrifice, may the men of Canvey be stirred with a like unflinching zeal for the cause of righteousness, justice and freedom. Thank you. Well, that's the end of the presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel to see other presentations that I add here. Share the video and also comment below. Thank you very much.